Sister Mary Louise Gass,
Good morning, Jody.
who I knew years ago as Sister Barbara Francis.
Yes, that was.
And where did the name Barbara Francis come from?
Well, I have a sister in the congregation. She's 3 years older and 5 years in religion, and she had taken our mother and dad's first name, Gerald Cecilia, so I took their second name, Barbara Francis. And I told her she could think the Barbara was for her, but actually she knew better.
Because that was her baptismal name,
That was
right?
her baptismal
Yes,
name.
yes. But it was your parents' second name,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Did they have the genes for longevity, your mother and father?
Well, my mother lived to be 100.
I have.
Yes, my dad 70. And so
Which was relatively young, wasn't it? 70.
Yes, yes,
when we
it was cancer at that time.
I see.
Yes.
What was his profession?
My dad owned a small dry cleaning business, of which I worked sometimes, you know. I'll tell you one story. Whenever it was Good Friday, I knew my dad wanted to go to the services with us. But Easter, everyone wanted their clothes. Mm-hmm. So he had to stay. The shop was closed, you know, from 12 to 3 at that time. But he was in the back doing pressing. I always knew he wished he could be going to the services with us, but all of our fathers did things that were not the happiest.
Exactly. We called them sacrifices at the time.
Oh, yes.
And didn't realize it immediately. Now, all of your life was spent, I mean, you were born in?
I was born in Wyandotte. Went to our sisters for 8 years. And then we didn't have a high school, so I went over to St. Patrick's, Wyandotte, for my high school.
And for those who don't remember or know where Wyandotte is?
Oh, Wyandotte is, we call it downriver. It's sort of south of Detroit. It's on the Detroit River.
Is there anyone else in the community that is from Wyandotte?
Oh, yes. Mary Jo Sieg and her sister Rita are in my crowd. Oh. A couple of the others are deceased. I can't remember anyone right now. Joan Christie was in the area. I'm not sure if it was Wyandotte or Southgate.
Tell me this, if you will, Barb. You went to Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters from Monroe. Their school in Wyandotte?
Yes, yes.
And why didn't they snatch you up?
Well, they tried. It was difficult for me. My sister entered when I finished 8th grade, so all during high school, are you going to be a sister? Are you going to be a sister? So I had the answer, no, I'm going to be married with a dozen kids. Well, when it came at graduation time, I told my mother and dad I didn't know if I wanted to enter. And they said, well, go to Siena and look them over.
Look them over.
So I did. In the first year, nothing. The second year, I had Sister Patrick Jerome for religion. And it was customary that they have an individual conference with the girls. It was only girls at that time. And she just asked me the right question and answered a few things for me and said, what can I do? And so I decided, yes, I wanted to enter in February. So I went home to tell Mother and Dad. Now, they weren't too surprised at it, but I still remember what my mother said. She said, Barbara will be your sponsor. I didn't know what that meant. But she said,
your sister.
My sister Barbara, who was Sister Gerald Cecilia at that time. She said, I told her she could pray as much as she wanted, but she was not to influence you. She made up her own mind, and you had a right to make up your own mind. I am grateful to God and the congregation, of course, for the extra time that I needed to be ready.
And the wisdom of your mother.
Oh, yes. I didn't have any idea she had put Barbara on profound silence.
Oh, so February 2nd.
Yes, said February 2nd, which is also the anniversary of our father's death. And so we went to Mass for Grandpa, of course, and then entered. That was in 1950.
Did you go out to teach as a postulant?
I did not.
Mm-hmm.
No, I continued. I wanted to be a high school math teacher, and I stayed in just that, until when we entered in February, we made profession in August. So that year and a half I was in Adrian,
And you
continuing school.
Oh, wonderful.
And then I went out. My first mission was Our Lady of Sorrows in Farmington.
Did you understand what the word mission meant?
It meant a job. That's what I was to do.
Oh, okay.
I think the word ministry and mission have now a new nuance, and I still feel that even though I'm retired, I'm in ministry.
Yeah, beautiful. That's beautiful. And who was your superior there at Our Lady of Sorrows?
My first superior was Sister Cesium.
Sister Cesium
Ayat. Viola was her other name.
From Deerfield.
Yes, from Deerfield. And she was so good to the younger women sisters. She didn't expect that we knew everything. She did things with us. She helped us make our habits. She helped us do the bulletin boards. I mean, she was right there with us. It was wonderful. She enabled us correctly, but didn't just throw us in the pot.
So did you teach high school right away? Well, there
Well,
wasn't a high school, was there?
Yes, when I went, my third year there, they started the high school, first freshman, sophomore, one at a time. Well, it was unusual at that time, but when I was starting my 5th year of teaching, it was after the first marking period, and the sister who was teaching high school got sick. So they needed a replacement. And so I was the replacement. I've often always wanted, I told you I went to Siena to be a high school math teacher. I wanted high school, and I was blessed to have that early in my career. And I taught high school for 35 years, all in the Archdiocese of Detroit, which is a conundrum to our congregation.
Yes.
4 years in elementary and 4 years in adult ed.
And in between?
In between what?
30-some years teaching high school.
Yes. Yes, that's what made the 43 years.
The bookends are grade school and adult education. And while you were on campus, your ministry for 15 years was...
Yes, I came to campus because I had a ministry downtown, and when that changed, I was able to come here and drive for our sisters in the transportation office. I was doing that for almost 15 years, which I'm just blessed. I love that too. I got to meet so many sisters that maybe I just knew by name. And we still get together here on campus, and we know each other.
What a gift.
Yes, it is.
Yes. What would if you could, name some of the high schools where you taught in the Detroit Diocese?
All right. Farmington, then here at Adrian Catholic Central.
Adrian, well, tell me about it.
It was a high school which was a combination of the St. Mary's and St. Joe's Parish. And it had to close financially, as many of our schools did. It's now called the Piotr Center. And
the what?
Piotr Center.
Yes.
It's for senior citizens. It's being used in a good way for the city.
Is that right near St. Mary's?
Yes, it's on the same property as St. Mary's, yes.
Is that where you lived then?
I lived, yes. The grade school sisters lived in the convent, and they had a little house for us. There just wasn't room in one of the houses. It wasn't that we were trying to be separated.
Is that little house where Marcine goes now to
It is
serve
exactly.
the poor?
It is exactly where they have the food for the poor.
It was a little house.
It was a little house.
So
Yes.
Adrian Catholic Central, and what other high schools?
Then I was missioned to St. Gabriel's in Detroit. Now, then we could choose what we wanted. So I always chose something in the archdiocese because my mother was still living. I didn't need to live with her, but I wanted to be able to visit her at least once a week. And yes, that's...
So Gabriel's was
there. Then Gabriel's closed, and I taught with the IHMs at Holy Redeemer. Then I went to St. Alphonsus in Dearborn, Dominican High, and after Dominican High, now there's a change. I was able to go on a year sabbatical to renew myself, but it ended with a 30-day retreat.
Lucky you.
Yes, yes.
Did that change your
And
life?
it changed my spiritual life. I didn't know I could be quiet for 30 days. So I brought a calendar, and every day I checked it off, keep myself in. The last week I did not mark it off. I didn't want it to end. And I knew this in my head, but it came to my heart. God loves me no matter what. When you really know that, it's a blessing. And that has been with me in my prayer life since then. I am so grateful.
How was this different than when you were a young nun? And
when I was a young nun, for prayer, I called it reading prayers. I didn't concentrate. I didn't put myself in God's presence. I just went in and filled out the office. I don't know how others prayed, but it was consistent.
Yes.
And now it's, with retirement, I almost crave my mornings to pray quietly, to pray in a group, and then Mass ends it.
It's almost like coming full circle, because many of us have entered for that very reason, to have that quiet, contemplative time. Would you agree?
Not really, because that was one of the questions that Sister Patrick Jerome had to answer for me. I said, I can't pray that much. And she said, I didn't think I could, but you'd be surprised how the time goes. Now I know what she meant.
Oh, that's beautiful. So did Barbara actually become your sponsor?
Oh, yes. Oh. Barbara was my sponsor. Sister Patrick Jerome just was there close. Barbara was teaching in Cincinnati at the time, you know.
So going back to your year and a half at Siena, I would imagine you had Sister Irma for class.
I had her in a summer class one time, but mostly she was science and I was taking math classes. Yes.
And who were some of your professors?
Oh, Jody. Names, numbers.
Yeah. Well, Sister Benedicta Marie.
She was there at the time. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think she was what they called the president at the time.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
after Mother Gerald.
Yes.
After Mother Gerald.
Yes.
Yes. These last few years, I know somewhere along the line, Mary Alice Nauer.
Well,
you met somewhere.
She's
teaching.
A very good friend that we just happened to meet.
Mm-hmm.
I was living at the Norwich House. Yes, Ratisbon, excuse me. I was living at Ratisbon with her in a big community, 8 or so, and we just met. And so when it was time for the two of us to change and go someplace else, we both wanted to live at Regina at the same time, and it worked very, very well. But a strange thing happened. We just got to Regina apartment, maybe 2 years, and were asked to go over across the street to the Sienna house and live with the new sisters. Now, maybe you think, oh, what a sacrifice. It was not a sacrifice. Just knowing the new sisters, and when they come in now to see us and to tell us what they're doing, it's so exciting for me, and to know them all. In fact, I made an appointment with Catherine Fraser, who's in the novitiate right now, to have a lunch with her, just so I could get to know her a little bit more than just a name. Yes.
I suspect Sister Zia Mara was at.
Oh, yes. Sister Zia Mara was there. Sister Emmy was there. Sister Sharon Bosler was there. And two Iraqi sisters were there.
Sister Diana and
Aman. Oh, it was
a rich community.
A rich community, and I'm grateful for all of it.
Did Sister Zia Mara dance down the stairs?
Well, I don't remember that, but she was a lot of fun, And I just want to add here, all the missions that I changed, and after 68 I could choose, I knew it was time. God just said, you know, you've done a good job to me, done a good job here, so time to move on. And I would ask, and they would accept me in this other school. And when I finally said, teaching the classroom is more than I can do, we had a lay principal, and he said, but you're still a good teacher. Well, I knew that I used to go in the classroom and get energized. Now I was going in and being tired. Yeah. But I thank God truly that I knew what was right for the next step.
And you didn't have to wait for the principal to call your major superior and say, this sister should retire.
Well, I was blessed.
Yes. And then the time now, as you said, is you're jealous about the morning.
In the afternoon, in here in Adrian, you just have to make choices. It isn't, what am I going to sit back and not do? I mean, my calendar is so funny. I'm glad I have a calendar. It's blessed. You can make all kinds of choices, meet people. It's another blessing.
Now, our Iraqi sisters, former priestesses, Sister Marie Treese and Sister Marie Hanna, were here yesterday. Did you have a chance?
No, I didn't. They don't know me. I know them.
Yes.
But I will tell you a picture that I still have. When I was living with the Iraqi sisters, one of them, I keep getting them mixed up, came, I guess we would call it visitation. And they were in a room, there was a glass between us, though I couldn't have understood Iraqi anyway. They were sitting in a circle, and the prioress was not here to talk to them. She was here to listen. I still see her attention to each sister. What is going on in your life? I couldn't hear, but from the expression, I still remember that. So caring.
That was Sister Maria Hanna.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my, that touches me when you say that.
It did. It's a picture. I still see that circle and her attention to each of them.
What words of wisdom would you have for Catherine now, as she is preparing to be?
It's probably the same that I've given to many going into the novitiate at St. Louis. There are some things you like and some things that you wonder why. Take them all in stride, and you'll be surprised how in the future the things you didn't like were the ones that you will remember.
Beautiful, beautiful.
But take them all in stride.
Yeah. If we were to, go back in time, and you're 37 years old, let us say, and you were able to look back and forward on your life, which school or high school would you choose to return to, because you knew the what should I say, the students that absorbed so quickly? And
Oh, that was Adrian Catholic Central. And I'm here in Adrian, so I've been invited, because I've been here for 18 years, that I've been invited to their reunions. And so that way I can keep in touch. And yes, they were a small school, about 250 in a class, but such support from their parents. I mean,
you mean 250 in the school?
200 in the
Yes,
school,
yes.
about 50 in each grade.
Oh my.
Mhm.
Oh
So
my.
they knew each other,
Yes.
and the parents were ultra
Involved.
involved.
Mhm.
But my first mission is always a special mission. Yes, I started there with living off the school area in a little house with 9 people.
Mhm.
I left living in a convent with about 20 people. We went from grade school and high school. There was built a new church. So that was a change in itself. Being at my first mission for 10 years was unusual, but it was a change in itself.
And was Sister Assisium with you the
With 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah.
Beautiful. And the pastor there was dear, wasn't he?
Yes, Monsignor Bean,
Mhm.
which was Marie Bean's brother. Yes.
One of our sisters.
Yes.
Yes.
When he was made Monsignor, I still remember his homily. He came, he was up at the pulpit, and he said, some people say, why were you made Monsignor? He says, it was because of you. We've built the school, we've built the church. People, they understand that this is a growing parish. Because of you, I got the honor.
Oh my, how
Yes.
inspiring.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I still remember his.
And he did become a bishop at
No, he didn't.
No.
Monsignor was it.
Oh, I thought he was changed to another diocese.
Not that I remember,
Not-
but I was out of there by then,
Yes,
probably.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mary Louise, do people still call you Barbara?
If I don't correct them, my baptismal name was Mary Louise, and I was always known by the whole name. I still remember, even before first grade, I was introduced as Mary Louise. So that's my name as far as I'm concerned.
I bet people wanted to call you Mary Lou.
Oh, they did, yes, yes. When we changed, I was at St. Gabe's, and we had maybe about 8 or 10 sisters. And Mary Lou, Mary, and I'd say I'd prefer being called Mary Louise, Mary Louise. Well, after about 2 weeks, I said, if I don't get Mary Louise now, I never will. So when they called me those other names, I just didn't answer. And when they said Mary Louise, I turned around and oh, did you want me? Well, they finally caught on, and that helped the
Yes.
congregation, yes.
I know
Well,
I had a hard time.
Well, you knew me
Yes,
under Barbara Francis,
Yes,
and that's understandable, yes.
Well, thank you for your years of ministry. We used to call it the apostolate. Some
Whatever.
of us called it a job.
Yes.
But when you think of the number of students you've influenced in your
Yes.
life, it's pretty remarkable,
Yes.
Mary Louise. So God bless you, and for your continued ministry of prayer and presence, still touching the souls
Thank
of
you.
all those who love you.
And I would like to change your wording a little bit
Sure.
for all of those people who have influenced me.
Yes.
That's why I don't want to name names. I will always leave off someone. I've
Yeah.
been blessed, and my prayer is one of thanksgiving.
Amen.
Amen.
God